G'day guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about camera mounts, specifically the F22 from Ulanzi or Falcam and also the F38 camera mount system. For as long as I've had cameras, I've wanted everything to be one plate, one release, one mount for my accessories, whether that be a gimbal or a tripod or a ram ball joint or something like that. I've always wanted the ability to move everything, whether it's a larger camera like the A7 IV, not overly large but full frame mirrorless, or an action camera like the GoPro, 360 camera like the Insta 360. That uniformity has always been a dream, to be able to change things quickly without hassle but still have things quite secure. And with that in mind, that's why we're talking about the F22 and F38 systems, because this is as close as I've got, but the F22 system is just not good enough, as much as people like to rave about it. I've spent about $700 on F22 mounts, and in the end result is that I don't like it. And then I spent another $600 on F38 mounts to try and fix the issues. So I'm going to be talking about the good points of the F22 system, and then I'm going to be talking about where it falls short. I'll be talking about why I'm moving to the F38 and what other downfalls this brings along the way, and why I think it's the best compromise for me, or possibly for you as well in the future moving forward. Maybe they will release some more products to tie up these loose ends, but there are quite a few loose ends here. And yeah, there's chapter marks down below, so if you want to skip ahead, feel free to skip ahead to whatever point of the video you want. Now, just a brief overview about what the problem is and why we're trying to use the F22 as a solution. Cameras generally have a 1/4 inch 20 thread. That's what you mount stuff to. The tripod, it'll have a plate that goes in there, and then that can quick release to that tripod. Unfortunately, that plate might not marry up with other accessories, which themselves might have a 1/4 inch 20 thread. So if you wanted to mount it onto them, you have to take the plate off, put it on the other thing, wind it on. Action cameras, GoPro, the originals, I guess you could call it, had this finger design or the ears, and that has been carried across to almost every single action camera. If not, there are adapters to suit this style. This style is brilliant because it allows you to pivot. The newer GoPros do have a 1/4 20 in the middle there, but this style still has a few advantages over that. 360 cameras come out, they also have a 1/4 20 thread at the bottom. I have a plate mounted in that at the moment, but you can see that everything sort of gets the same sort of mounting style for the most part. It's either this action camera mount or a conversion between the two, or it's a 1/4 20. And then we have NATO rail and cold shoe as well. But having so many different things that don't work together, you want something to marry it all up. Peak design, this was the original as far as I'm aware. This was working with the capture clip. It also goes into Arc Swiss tripods, and a lot of accessories came out with this as the gold standard. So that's what you had to make your accessory fit. I just had that on the bottom of my camera for a long time. Capture clip itself, it was handy if you were walking around. It's a bad example because the bag's got no weight in it. You could put it on your backpack straps, or if you wore a belt or you had a thicker sort of hip belt on your bag, then you could put it on there as well. That was the gold standard, but that's about the extent of it. Peak design were highly regarded, but they never went anywhere with it. They never developed it further. I mean, they kept developing the same thing. This is the version 3, but they never really took it to the next level. That's where all these other brands come in and pick up the slack. There are other quick release systems. I'm not going to go through all of them. Obviously, small rig, Ulanzi or Falcam, PGY Tech, there's all sorts on the market now, but none of them, in my eyes, offer as broad a range as the F22 system. Where the F22 excels over all the others is they have things like this, which converts a GoPro or a GoPro mount into a quick release. Something like this, which converts the old buckle style into a female. So anything with these clips in. And they also have this style as well with the GoPro fingers that also has an F22 base. So this allows us to do things such as put a GoPro into an F22 mount system and have it mount into anything that we convert. The reason we need these is because some mounts, for example, the 3-way, this is built in. This isn't the only one. There are others, but I haven't bought all of them out today. But for example, the bar mount as well, this is built in. So if you want your F22 system to work with all of your mounts, you need this adapter, otherwise it wouldn't work. Now, where these are important as well is because some GoPro mounts, such as poles or chomps, for example, have the GoPro fingers. This is a good mount because it's very secure and you can loosen it and change the actual angle or the pitch of the mount and the camera. And then of course we have these, which I have got the GoPro attached to, and this makes every single GoPro mount adaptable to F22. So that's why I went with the F22 system as my hopeful one-stop solution, is because all of these mounts make all of the GoPro mounts adaptable to any camera that you have. You've now got a clip for every single different scenario. You never have to undo this unless you want to change the angle. Your GoPro is sorted from here on out. So the F22 system basically consists of a plate with a 1/4-20 male. So this goes into anything that has a 1/4-20 female, like the bottom of our camera did before. The base is a clip-in with its own 1/4-20 female on the bottom. So we stick this base into the 1/4-20 of this camera, and then this camera can go in all our mounts. Any mount that you have can be converted. If it has a 1/4-20, you, for example, have a phone mount here, you have hot shoe, cold shoe mounts. You just need to put a base on anything with a male, or anything with a female, you put a plate in. Anything that has 1/4-20 male or female, you can convert to a quick release style system. So that is why the F22 system is the one that I decided to go with, to try and make my cameras suit one style of mount uniformly. To give you an example of how good this could be in theory, I'll show you some examples of what we could do. So you can see how handy it is when you got actual buckets full of mounts. I've got round mounts, B size, I've got round mounts, C size joints, I've got all these GoPro suction cups, bite mounts. This is like a head strap. You've got chest mounts. There's a bunch of stuff I've got that I don't carry with me anymore because I never used it. And then you have all your little magic arms. It's got 1/4-inch thread on it. Then you can convert this all to F22 system. So why isn't it good enough? Well, the first issue, the twist that you get. Now obviously that is because it is quite a small footprint and it's not really intended for cameras like this, but this F22 system is the only one that can be truly universal because of this GoPro mounts that are on offer that aren't on offer with the F38 system. The twist is an issue sometimes with larger cameras, but also even with smaller cameras, it's still an issue that the screws will come loose, which then eventually involves in bits of twisting. I believe they have tried to improve the design, definitely with the F38 system. There are different versions that have come out, so they are trying to improve it all the time. But that is definitely an issue that makes the F22 not suitable for the larger cameras in the long run. Little bits and pieces here and there, it's fine, but for gimbal work or mounting to a car or something like that, I wouldn't recommend using the 22 system. The other issue is the screws actually come loose. Screws coming loose could be causing the twisting, but I think the twisting is also due to the fact that it's such a small footprint. It doesn't have a good hold on the camera. Just filming that sequence before with all the different mounts, I had to retighten up this, had to retighten up this, had to retighten up this. You will be carrying tools around with you because they're shit. Put it bluntly, they're shit. They're not good enough for the job. Every time you want to grab something and pull it out, you'll just feel it move slightly and then it's done. You have to retighten it. It doesn't take much, it's a pain in the ass. So that alone, they're not good enough. So that's issue 1 and 2, kind of combined. Issue 3, it's supposed to be a quick release system. It might have looked quick in that video sequence I just did, but here's the reality of what it actually looked like. hate these things, man. Clips into the plate clips. So I never thought I'd actually change my mind halfway through making a video, but in the process of making the video, I really had to disconnect and reconnect the F22 system a lot, and I've actually gone from convincing myself it was an okay sort of product to thinking it's absolute garbage. The amount of times that I've had to retighten one of the F22 bases into the 1/4-20 female mounts is just ridiculous. And the struggles with getting this F22 system in and or out of its base is just ridiculous. If you don't use it a lot, you think you can put up with it. But when I've just then had to use it quite a lot, quite consistently, F22 system, I do not rate it at all. I don't know if I got a bad batch, but the tolerances are so tight. Even when I'm directly looking down the line and I can see that it's all lined up and it just does not want to go in, or it does not want to pop out. And because it is so tight, when you are going to put it in, you get the same feeling that you would putting it in the right way as you would the wrong, because either way it's tight. So you're kind of trying both ends because you're not sure if it's just the normal tightness or if it's just the tightness that you have because you're putting it in the wrong way. So yeah, I'm really annoyed that F22 system at the moment. Like, it's good because you don't want any rattle in a way, but you cannot get this in. And this is me, that's me looking at it, being able to maneuver it. Imagine reaching over, trying to get this in or out of something. There is a stickiness to it. Even when you think you've got it all the way out, it just won't release that last little bit. It gets so annoying and it's so slow that it doesn't feel like a quick release system. It's a pain in the ass. I think the F22 system is rubbish because of that alone. Even if they came loose every now and then, but they got in and out easy would be a big plus, but they don't. It is handy having quick releases on all this sort of stuff. Being able to put this into a tripod, for example, which you do need to do sometimes. Look, that's just come loose again. So why the need to make it so small? Weight and space is the only consideration I can think of, because it doesn't matter how big it is. So I feel like the F38 would be a better system to go with. The only time that the size matters is for a 360-degree camera, because you can move the image around in post, and even then, the only time it matters is if it's on a pole mount to make the pole invisible. If you've mounted it to a table or a tree or a post or anything else, you won't be able to crop in post in that direction because the obstruction would still be there. The only time it matters is when it's on a pole. So I don't feel like this or this style of camera should be dictating the design, the footprint size for every other camera being a lot more capable and, generally speaking, better quality than these sorts of things. They already make a Insta 360 specific mount, which is a little bit thinner than the F22 system. So I'm not sure why the obsession with such a small style when it comes up with all these different issues. Another issue for me, the gimbals. Falcam do provide arms for the gimbals. This is the RS3, I've got a Mini as well, but it comes in an F38, as it should, because it's a bigger base, has better stability. So you can use an F38 base into an F22 base, into an F22 top plate, but then you have so many parts, the height of the camera raises too much. This gimbal would be fine. On the Minis, the RS3 Mini, RS4 Mini, it no longer balances because the height of the camera has been raised too much. That is another downfall. Falcam have this as a solution. This is an F22 by F38. So as you can see with this camera, I've got the F22 to F38 conversion bit. This means that it fits in every single bit that is F22, and now it also fits in the gimbal. However, this isn't a viable solution for a few reasons. So firstly, the mount has to be mounted in this orientation to work with the gimbal, but then we run into some other issues. With this plate aligned the correct way to go in the gimbal, if you want to pair this with the camera strap F38 system, then the camera is going in like this and it is wobbling around. You can't get it in any other way. So not only is it sideways, it's also wobbling around. So if you think this is going to be your solution and you want to use a camera strap, then forget about it. The other issue with this adapter is the backpack strap. This is the same as the peak design capture clip that we talked about before. This would go on a shoulder strap or a waist belt or even just a belt on your pants. So the problem with this, if you like to use a shoulder strap or a waist strap or even a belt mount, anything like that, you've got this rattling around for a start, but also if you were going on a shoulder strap, it would only point with the weight of the lens off center and it would start to twist your backpack strap. On a belt, it would be okay, except for the fact that you've got this constant sideways movement. That is a shortcoming of the F22 system. If you want all your cameras to be F22, but you also use gimbals, then to solve the problem of making it work with a gimbal, they've released this adapter plate. Unfortunately, that adapter plate makes it useless with a backpack clip and also makes it useless with the camera strap clip that we saw before. So after all that and over $700 spent on this F22 system, I think the whole thing is pretty useless actually, and I don't rate it, at least for me. If you just had GoPros and 360 cameras, it is okay, but you still have that stickiness issue. And if you want to deal with that, then fine, that's up to you. But trust me, it gets frustrating. It just doesn't come out and it is so annoying that you might want to throw the whole system in the bin. So what is my solution? At the moment, I am waiting for an order of F38 base plates and top plates, and my solution is to change everything to F38 because it is a stronger, sturdier mount. So for example, this F22 base plate on this extension pole will change to an F38. Things like this, which is the tripod for the gimbal, I'll change that to an F38. See how shit this is? On the bottom of my cameras, this will also change to an F38. And what this means is that it will work with the strap, it'll work with the backpack. I'll be able to use it with the tripod, which is nice, lightweight, low profile. Be able to use it to the gimbal without any adapters. All of my other mounts, such as this 3-footed monster, this will be an F38. So it'll be a lot more strength and more active sort of shots. Overall, it's going to be better. However, the GoPro has to have an F22 mount. So on the Insta360 and the GoPro, it will be an F22 to F38 double plate, the long and thin one, which is annoying because it means an extra mount onto the GoPro fingers. Now, the newer GoPros do have a 1/4-20, so you could mount this directly, but without having this, you lose the ability to change the angle. So I'm gonna keep this part of it, and unfortunately, I'm just gonna have a mount to a mount, and that's just how I'm going to run the GoPro. So the GoPro will work with all of these other mounts, but it will also work with its original GoPro mounts. However, this means I can't use the other cameras. If I wanted that to be a handle for a larger camera, for example, I can't use that as a handle anymore because we're still stuck in the F22 system for this. But that's the only way I can come up with at the moment, where my cameras are going to be nice and secure, but I still have adaptability to mount the GoPro to the larger mounts. I just can't mount the larger cameras to the smaller mounts. Could they make a hybrid system, F30? It'd be a bit of a waste of money in my opinion. They could just make these sorts of adapters with F38. I think that'll be a better solution because a lot of the rest of the architecture already exists around the F38. The F38 gives a good footprint for all cameras. It does essentially make these magic arms with the built-in F22 bases useless for me. But I can change to an arm like this, changing these F22s out because these are just 1/4-20 threads. Or I have, for example, this one from Small Rig. This is a 3/8 thread, which is great for large mounts like this suction cup mount. And then I can change this one to an F38. So I can still use mounts from other places that are really good quality. It just means these built-in F22 ones are now useless as far as I'm concerned after I change everything to F38. Well, for me, the one-stop shop camera mount system doesn't exist yet. So just to summarise, I thought the F22 was going to be perfect for every camera because that is the only one that's actually on offer with the GoPro mounts, which makes it usable with the GoPro mounts, the GoPro camera, and by having an F22 plate in your main camera, that camera can then fit with all those mounts as well. Unfortunately, the F22 line suffers from screws coming loose, misalignment constantly, as well as a stickiness that makes it slower than using a 1/4-20 sometimes. It is literally that slow. It is annoying and frustrating. So as far as I'm concerned, the 22 system is not good enough. On top of that, if you are hoping to use it with a gimbal, just be mindful that if you have an RS3 Mini or RS4 Mini, by the time you stack an F22 base and then a top plate into that on top of the F38 arm, it doesn't balance anymore. So one way around that, in theory, would be to get the F22 to 38 conversion. The plate that converts 22 to 38 is a half decent option if you are looking to use it with a gimbal, or for example, the tripod that they have on offer. However, if you install this, it won't work with your backpack strap without a lot of rattling around, and in one orientation, whether it be your shoulder or your waist, it will be wrong anyway. It also does not work with your camera strap base plate. So at the end of the day, we haven't reached the goal of having one camera mount solution for all the accessories and the mounts, because the F22 system is simply unusable. So what I've decided to do instead is, unfortunately, pay more money to Falcam for the F38 system, which will make 90% of things better. I think that is the best way to do it, and I just wanted to make this video so everyone understands the limitations with the systems at the moment. They don't play that well with each other, the F22 and the F38. Now, if you are determined to have one solution for all of your cameras and you're not too worried about the stickiness and the misalignment and the screws coming loose, you can use the F22 system for everything. When you buy these larger things like the backpack clip or the camera strap clip, you can use an F38 in there with an F22 base on the 1/4-20, and then all your F22 stuff will work with that. Just be prepared to tighten it all the time because it's not going to hold it. But technically you can use the F22 system for everything with some conversion to F38 base plates. The only scenario this wouldn't work is with the RS3 and RS4 Mini gimbals. It's too tall, they won't balance anymore. Every other scenario it works. I personally think it's better to change everything to F38. It's stronger, more robust, doesn't get misaligned. The only downside is you won't have GoPro mounts for your larger cameras, but the likelihood of needing to use a mirrorless camera on a GoPro mount is so small that I think that is the best way to do it. Run F38 on everything, only run F22 where you absolutely have to. I feel like I've been rambling. Hopefully I've been able to make this make sense in the edit, because I've repeated everything so many times and I'm not sure what I've covered and what I haven't covered already, or whether I've explained it well enough for people to understand. But hopefully this has been of some help. Long story short, the F38's good, the F22 is bad, but you need the F22 for GoPro mounts. That's about it. I hope that helped. And very brief. No. G'day guys. In the closest thing that so just to backtrack very quickly, cameras. So just to backtrack, and basically the F22 consists of butt average camera mounts have a 1/4-20 through. So cameras 1/4-20 through. That is why I just had that on the bottom of my plate. Here's the real. With this plate aligned that the way, this is a 38. This is a 38. You can buy them with, unfortunately, the larger, the